we're going to get started. So once again, for all of you who just came into the meeting, thank you for being here today for our warming tools for cold weather to help with Raynaud's with Lynn Wunderman, Chairman of the Raynaud's Association. I just want to remind everybody once again that it is Raynaud's Awareness Month, so we were thrilled to partner with them on this TealTalk. Let's get started. Can we go ahead and go to the next slide? As always, we have to read through our disclaimer on all of our sessions. The National Scleroderma Foundation in no way endorses any drugs, treatments, clinical trials, or studies referenced in this session. Information is provided to keep the community informed. Because the manifestations and severity of scleroderma vary among individuals, personalized medical management is essential. Therefore, it is strongly recommended that all drugs and treatments be discussed with your healthcare provider team for proper evaluation and treatment. Next slide. So just once again, today's session, we are going to do a high overview of what Raynaud's is and how it presents to ensure everyone understands the condition for this TealTalk. We are only here to talk about warming tools in detail for cold weather to help with the symptoms of Raynaud's. And we will not be able to discuss any medical diagnosis or treatments. Those discussions should be had with your physicians and your care teams. So I do want to give a couple of quick facts about scleroderma and Raynaud's, if we could move on to the next slide. So approximately 5 to 10% of the population is affected by Raynaud's phenomenon, but approximately 95% of our scleroderma friends experience it. That's huge. Secondary Raynaud's is generally one of the first symptoms to occur with scleroderma. So timely and accurate identification of secondary Raynaud's phenomenon may accelerate a final diagnosis and positively alter prognosis and care. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Lynn Wunderman, Chairman of the Raynaud's Association, who is going to give some high-level information about the condition and then get into the fun stuff with the tips and the tools. So without further ado, Lynn, we are going to turn it over to you.
Excellent, thank you. And I just want to get my screen organized here. Okay, all right. So I'm happy to be here with so many fellow Frosties at the start of Raynaud's Awareness Month. This is that time of the year when we're actively looking for products and strategies that will help us get warmth and comfort during the cold weather season. Although the truth is Raynaud's can really be challenging any time of the year, largely thanks to air conditioning, right? Because if you were to ask our friends in the southern climates, I'm sure they would agree with that particular issue. So the products and tools we're going to discuss today will actually help you get through the cold times any time of the year. But I'm going to start the discussion with a few basics on Raynaud's. It'll help put the products in context and also may be helpful for those of you who are either newly diagnosed or maybe not that familiar with the condition. Okay, so why isn't this? There we go. Okay, so what exactly is Raynaud's and what is happening to the body when a person has a Raynaud's attack? Well, it's really a very natural human body response. You've probably heard it referred to as the fight or flight syndrome. And what's happening in that process is that the body senses danger. It feels a threat from extreme cold or stress, and it will shut down the blood vessels in the extremities in order to circulate the blood to the core and protect the vital organs. And this is something that happens to everybody. It's a very natural process. The difference is that for those of us with Raynaud's, our thresholds are much lower. So for the average person, it might happen at minus 50 degrees or somebody puts a gun to your head. For someone with Raynaud's, it could be 60, 70 degrees and maybe a bad day at work. And because our thresholds are so much lower than most people's, unfortunately, this happens to us on a much more regular basis. So what are some of the symptoms that can occur in the course of a Raynaud's attack? There's a whole variety of them. The most common symptoms are a painful cold sensation in the extremities. Generally, when we think about the extremities, we talk about fingers and toes because those are the areas of the body that tend to most regularly get affected by Raynaud's. But it could be any extremity. It could be the ears, the nose, the lips, the tongue. Sexual organs, women have trouble breastfeeding because of Raynaud's. The most visible symptoms are the color changes. So as the blood vessels are shutting down, let's say, for example, in the fingers, they may turn white for lack of blood in that area. And then if you're having a longer or more severe attack, they can potentially turn blue from the lack of oxygen that would normally be carried in the blood. And then when we get warm or calm again, the blood rushes back much more quickly than normal. And that in and of itself is a very painful process. And the skin, let's say in the fingers, may then start to turn red. There are a whole lot of other potential symptoms. We won't necessarily have all of them. The extremities can swell. You may have a numbness or a tingling, much the way you would describe, let's say, your hand or your foot falling asleep. One woman said to me, she gets a burning sensation. It's like picking up a piece of dry ice. And the fact that there are so many different kinds of symptoms and the way we can describe them are unfortunately part of the challenge in being properly diagnosed, because at this point, there is no formal test to diagnose Raynaud's on its own. There are tests to determine if someone's Raynaud's is a byproduct of a serious autoimmune condition, such as scleroderma, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, fibromyalgia, MS, Sjogren's disease. There's a whole laundry list of them. And unfortunately, you're probably more familiar with them than I am. But there's today still no formal test to diagnose primary Raynaud's on its own, or Raynaud's as a precursor to an autoimmune primary ailment. So how does a doctor diagnose it? Well, it might witness an attack, which is, could happen in a very cold, air-conditioned office. It's not out of the question. A patient might bring photos on their phone to help a doctor see the color changes they're experiencing. But primarily, a doctor has to just sit and listen. And that's challenging because not everyone's symptoms are textbook. Everybody doesn't go through that triad of color changes I just described. Some people never go past white. Some people go straight to a purplish black. Some people only see the red. Our thresholds are all different. Mine is 60 degrees. I've spoken to people who can tolerate as low as 50 degrees. Some people say at 75 degrees. I bring out the boots and the gloves. And the way we describe the symptoms, I found that Raynaud's is a very individual condition. I told you about the woman who said it's like a burning sensation when you're picking up a piece of dry ice. Someone recently said, my toes feel like I'm walking on gravel. Another person told me it's like someone put your hand in the freezer, your fingers froze, and then somebody took a hammer to them. That's what Raynaud's is like for me. And if you're a doctor, I mean, they don't teach you this stuff in med school, how to translate those kinds of descriptions. And to make it even further more complicated, there are several other medical disorders that have similar triggers and symptoms that go with it. Cold urticaria is literally an allergy to cold temperatures. And so a person might have a reddish rash with some hives associated with exposure to cold temperatures. There's a vascular disorder called acrocyanosis. I may not be pronouncing it properly, but it is triggered by exposure to cold and stress like Raynaud's. It affects the extremities like Raynaud's, but it also affects larger areas of the body, might be the whole arm or the leg, and the attacks last longer. They can last longer than a typical intermittent Raynaud's attack. Then there's chilblains, which you may have heard of. That's also caused by exposure to cold temperatures, and it involves a reddish rash. And to further make it more difficult, none of these disorders are mutually exclusive. You can have one, two, you can have all of them. A doctor may properly diagnose the first one, stop there, not treat the others. So you can see how this is a very challenging situation. Fortunately for all of you, you've been properly diagnosed and you're getting good care and treatment. So you're in better shape, unfortunately, than a lot of the population. But enough with science, let's talk about warmth, right? So one important part of our mission and one of our services is with product discovery for the Raynaud's community. And on our website in the marketplace section, there is a page called the Product Showcase, and we feature over 24 warming products. I will, in full disclosure, tell you that these products are from our corporate sponsors who do help support us financially, but we don't accept just any company as a sponsor. In fact, we turn away more than we accept. What the process usually involves is a manufacturer or retailer will approach us because they have products that they want to promote to the Raynaud's community. The first thing we'll do is test them. Now, we're not the Good Housekeeping Lab, and we recognize that no one product will help every single sufferer, but it needs to be deemed of good quality, and it needs to have at least the potential to benefit people with Raynaud's. And if it passes that screen, we invite them to become a sponsor, at which point we will provide them with a full page in our product showcase. These are not paid ads. These are product reviews written in our own words based on our trial experience. And sometimes we disagree with the way one of our sponsors might describe their product. So they may call it self-heating, we may call it temperature regulating. And they have to agree that that's okay. In addition to which, we also negotiate special offers, which you find on the page about 2/3, 3/4 of the way down the product review. And you are welcome to use these. They're up on our website, so please help yourselves. Okay, so the products tend to fall in one of three categories. The first one is some form of external heat source. So it might be rechargeable batteries. It might be those chemicals that heat up when exposed to air, like in those hot packs you get at the sporting goods or the big box stores. They might be some component of the product that absorbs heat in the microwave and can maintain heat for a number of hours. So that's one category. Another has to do with the fibers themselves. They might be temperature regulating fibers like copper, silver. More recently, I've learned graphene falls into this category. They may be high-tech fibers, which I don't totally understand how they work, excuse me, but the process is they might have some far infrared capability that uses the body's own way of manufacturing heat in order to maintain the body temperature. And it may be natural fibers like merino wool or alpaca. They also have temperature regulating features, but these fabrics can be placed in multiple layers, so that helps insulate, may add another layer of a man-made fabric like Thinsulate. And in addition to being incredibly warm, they're nice and plushy and soft. So these can make an interesting option, let's say, for gloves as opposed to the heated ones that are on the market. And then there's a topical category. They might have circulation boosting ingredients like L-arginine and magnesium, or they might have some kind of formula that provides a protective barrier against the cold. And we're going to talk about some of these products now. So this first product, these are the Okupa rechargeable hand warmers, and I love these. I think everyone with Raynaud should have a whole collection of them all over the house and in every coat pocket. They are, they fit in the hand. You can see this particular model is one of their early ones that they still sell. It's slightly curved so it fits nicely in the palm of your hand, and that black portion has sort of a soft suede-like finish, so it feels really good as you're holding it and getting the heat. All of their models have 3 levels of heat, high, medium, and low, and depending on what level you have it set on and the size of the particular warmer, the model that you're using, it can last like 10, 15 hours or more. The larger ones also multitask as a power bank. So if you have one that's fairly well charged and your phone dies, that's very handy to have around. And they're very value priced. They start at under $30 each. And they come in a lot of different styles and designs. Here's a few of the more recent ones. You'll see on the left, there's 2 of them. One thing they started doing, and I think it was largely in response to what they were seeing in the Raynaud's community, people would buy them. They would buy 2 at a time because who wants to just have one in your pocket or one to hold and then you're stuck with both hands together? Whenever you have one hand getting warm, the other one always feels needy, even if the other one was colder to begin with. At least that's my experience. So now they sell them in pairs, which is great. In the middle, what you see here is a variation on that. There's a large warmer that has a magnet in the middle and it pulls apart. So your choices are one large warmer or two smaller ones to put in your pockets or to hang on to, which is, I just think that was brilliant. And the little cube on the right is really, really small. You can wear it around your neck. You can easily slip it into any size purse. They have a whole variety, and what you see here, they're all in neutral colors, but they sell them in orange and hot pink, and flower designs and paisleys and astronomy prints. And one year they even had a contest where they wanted people to name the new designs, which was really a lot of fun. So there's a lot of options here, and these last a very long time. They heat up really at the punch of a button. They're very, very fast in terms of distributing the heat. And I keep them all over the place. So I highly suggest if you've never tried one of these warmers, that you give them a shot. Another one of my favorites is the G-Tech heated pouch. If you remember back maybe in the 30s or 40s, not that you were there, but maybe you've seen pictures of your mother or your grandmother with a muff. It's kind of the same concept. Years ago, they used to use muffs instead of baby gloves to keep their hands warm. This is like that, only it's more the size of a larger pouch. It's got inside a very plush velour-like lining. And then there's this bar, also covered in a soft lining, and it's that bar that heats up. So your hands are inside and you're clutching that heated bar, and I'm telling you, you punch the button and it is really, really fast. Um, it's got three levels of heat, high, medium, low, like most battery operated, rechargeable battery operated products. And it's got an outer zipper into an inner pocket. And then behind that on the edge is another pocket. So you can put your keys, a credit card, your phone, some cash. You can use this instead of a purse. It's got a strap that goes around the waist or the hips. So you can use it like a fanny pack. It was originally created by golfers in order to keep their hands warm on the golf course in between the holes. So you'd be in the golf cart and you maybe someone else is driving and you've got one hand in the pouch and you've got the other hand on the wheel. Now it's used by a whole variety of sports teams as well as the military. It comes in a number of different colors and styles, lots of bright colors, neutral colors, and there's a camouflage one, I guess is the one they sell into the military. It costs about $185. And I think for a heated product like this, it is so versatile. It's definitely a good value. I used one of these at a football game, my nephew's football game, on a cold, rainy night. And I would have never been able to get through it if I hadn't had this product to keep my hands warm. It made a huge, huge difference for me. Okay, now this is a different type of product. This is the Heat Jack Hotliner Vest. This was designed by an anesthesiologist because he recognized that operating rooms as well as ERs are freezing. And so he designed this incredibly thin fabric vest that could fit under scrubs, say for a technician or for a nurse. But because it's so thin, it'll fit under any coat or jacket in your wardrobe. And you can see in the picture, it's got like a heat reflective lining. And then you can see one of the four big pockets. In those pockets, you put in the large air activated warmers, like the smaller warmers, maybe you use the hot hands or grabbers in your gloves. These are much, much bigger, which means they heat up much, much faster and they last a lot longer. They can last, 12 hours or so. It's lightweight, it's foldable, it's packable. You can take it to travel with. You can put one in your trunk with, if you're worried you're going to get stuck in the snow, on the highway and you've got some kind of an emergency. I love that this is low tech. There are no batteries, no apps. You don't have to read a manual to figure it out. There are no wires to get tripped up with. Although they did create a rechargeable heated version because they had demand for it. So it does come both ways. It sells for, the starter kit is $68. So the starter kit gives you the vest and several hand warmers, or I should say large warmers to get started with it. It really warms you, I'm telling you. And it's kind of interesting how he developed it and why he developed it. He doesn't personally have Raynaud's, but his daughter does. So he can really empathize, the fellow who invented this vest. He can really empathize with the issues of people with Raynaud's. I don't think his daughter was diagnosed with it until after he invented the vest, which is kind of interesting. Um, okay, so now we're talking about a different type of vest. This is a more traditional heated vest from Venustus. It's got a rechargeable battery. What I like about this vest is it's got multiple heat zones. So for example, it's got a zone on the collar, which heats up the back of your neck. Do you know how you can put a scarf around your neck and like tends to warm the whole body? Well, this has got heat on the back of the neck. It's got in the core, obviously in the mid back, because that's critical for people with Raynaud's. The shoulders and the lower area that you can feel the heat in the pockets, which I think is also great for people with Raynaud's. There's like we just saw on the heat jack vest, there's a silver mylar panel inside the lining. It covers the whole vest. So even if you turn the heat off, that thermal lining is going to keep you warm for an extended period of time. It is wind and water resistant, so you can use it as an outer layer, let's say during the transition seasons, or because it's got this really soft, silky, pillowy type feel to the fabric, it fits easily under another jacket or coat. And when you do that, it pushes the heat closer to the body, which is great. And I actually think this is a great idea to have in the office when you're dealing with, let's say, cold air conditioning in the summer and you're trying to figure out, like, instead of having your grandmother's cardigan on the hook on the back of your door, this is sporty looking. Nobody's going to know it's heated unless you tell them. It just looks like you're wearing a vest. And it looks like a fashion item. They come in a lot of neutral and sporty colors. It's about $160, which is a good value for a heated product. And one other thing I'll say about this, we have tested a lot of different vests. And as I said, we don't accept every manufacturer to be a sponsor. Several of them, they may have a heavy battery, let's say that's towards the top in a pocket, say at the top of the vest. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But we've tested several that have the battery in an area where it gets in the way if you're trying to sit down, or if you were walking upstairs, or you were out hiking and going up an incline. And there may be other products that those manufacturers say we'll be happy to promote, but we would prefer not to promote your vests for these reasons. So this one was comfortable. Once in a while you may push it a little bit aside, but basically that battery is in a position where it's not going to interfere with whatever activities you're doing. And we feel like, we're about warmth and comfort, and that's the comfort part of the equation. So that was important to us, and that's one reason we selected this particular sponsor with their vest. This is another newer favorite of mine, the writer's glove. We're asked all the time about people who type a lot, work in the office, fingers are cold. Maybe the fingerless gloves don't quite do it for them, although they help a lot of people because they keep the wrist warm, which helps open the arteries that lead to the fingers. But these were invented by a journalist. He does not have Raynaud's, but he lives in Minnesota and he uses his fingers a lot, and he was constantly suffering from the cold. And he had some really funny strategies. He used to like put candles near the keyboard, which is not only dangerous, but also messy. And he finally gave up and said, I got to invent something. And bless him, these are thin, stretchy, they've got a hint of copper, which is one of the temperature regulating fabrics I mentioned earlier. They also, in the newer model, have a slice of graphene, which has thermal properties, but also it helps with performance. It's used in a lot of athletic outfits from, like Olympic people. And so I think actually the graphene may also help with the dexterity. It gives you better movement. The original ones that I tried, it took me about 5 minutes to adjust to be able to type and not really experience, feel that they were there. The new ones, I have no issue whatsoever. Didn't take me any time to adjust, or if you go away, come back. Like with the other ones, I had to kind of readjust. They're like a second skin the minute you put them on. They're touchscreen sensitive, so you can use your phone without taking them off. They've got silicone grips, so if you want to grab a mug or a glass or whatever, they not only help protect you from the cold, but it's not going to slip out of your fingers. And it's really well priced at $35. They only come in basic black, but this is really the best product I have found for people who want some warmth on their fingers and need to type a lot or have, a lot of dexterity. While this is primarily an indoor product, they also make great liners for you to wear under your gloves or mittens. The last one I'm going to talk about is a cream called Warm Skin. Now, this doesn't do what it sounds like it does. It does not add warmth to your skin. What it does is it insulates your skin and provides a protective barrier from the cold and the wind. So you put it on while you're still warm, before you go outdoors, before you put your gloves on, and it has, don't know all the tech behind it, but it retains moisture and has some ability to use the heat in your body. And it's got this formula with a protective barrier in the cream that helps. It's not that you won't get at all cold, but it helps you from getting as cold. And it has been used by Arctic explorers, postal workers, NFL players, really great credentials. And the other thing I like about this is, some of our extremities are not easily warmed. Like you can't put a sweater on your nose. During the pandemic, we were able to wear face masks, but that's not so much an option these days or something you would want to do. But this is a product you can put on your nose and it's going to help you from getting quite so cold there. The manufacturer of this product, we were originally working with the distributor, and the manufacturer at some point about a couple of years ago sold the company. It took a while for the new owner to get it back up and running, and we have had some exchanges with them. We don't yet have a relationship with them, but this is sold by one of our other sponsors called the Warming Store, which, by the way, they've got everything. Everything heated you can ever imagine, it's there. And it sells for $14.99 a tube. And you can use our discount there to buy it. It's also, it's been available on Amazon for some time. I looked a couple of days ago and I didn't see it there, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with the distribution on Amazon, but you can find it at the Warming Store. And as I said, you'll still feel some cold, but it won't be near as much as what you would have without it. And by the way, it's also a great moisturizer. So which is, good for us frosties in the wintertime to keep the circulation going and keep from getting skin to crack. Especially with those of you who may suffer from digital ulcers. So it's good for the skin at the same time. So those are the products that I brought to share with you. I have a bag full of some other things here, or if you actually want to see some of these, I can pull them out so that you can get a glimpse of them. But if you folks have any questions, I'm happy to address them as best I can.
Then that was great. Loved seeing all the different tools that you have, and I did put in the chat for everyone a link to the marketplace on the Raynaud Association, so they would know where to find the link to learn more about some of them. So we'd love to take some questions if we have some. I've gotten a few in the chat. I can read them aloud, or we can allow people to ask them. But the first question is the Warm Skin Cream unscented?
I believe it. Hang on a second, because I have it down here. Let me check. Yeah. It's not something that I'm conscious of having a scent, but yeah, there's a little something there, but you wouldn't really notice it. It's not, there's not like a fragrance there. Um, yes, I think if it's somebody who's sensitive to fragrances, you'd be fine with it.
Is it safe and natural?
Um, well, let's see. Here's the ingredients. Water, which is the first ingredient, which means that's the largest one. Aloe, leaf juice, stearic acid, glycerin, isopropyl, don't ask me to pronounce it, some kind of lanolin, some kind of lanolate, methyl glucose, uh, extracts of something that then it says sandalwood in the parens, and some kind of bark, and let's see, it does have cetyl alcohol, uh, pomegranate, pomegranate sterols. Um, it does mention some kind of fragrance, but I'm not conscious of it. Some kind of propanol, see, cranberry seed oil, and let's see, don't ask me, some kind of ethanol and some kind of glycol. Those are the ingredients, if that helps.
Um, you'll love this question, Lynn. Someone said this was super information. Will you be at the next Scleroderma conference with an exhibit?
We can talk about it.
It'll be closer to your home. It's Baltimore. Um, it looks like we have two hands up, and so I'm going to unmute them. The first one is Eva Marie Cole, and I am going to, Eva, I'm asking to unmute you. Let's see if this, there she is. You should be able
Okay.
There you go.
Hi. Thank you so much, Lynn. Great presentation. I've used several of the products you spoke about, but you mentioned the gloves. I have very constricted fingers. Do they have a fingerless version of those gloves? Because
No,
they don't.
they don't. Um, we do feature some other fingerless gloves on our site, some of which go all the way up towards the end. But there's not a fingerless version that I'm aware of. I haven't seen it on their website.
Oh, you brag so much about it. I think we should get the manufacturers to, put out a patent for that. Thank you so much. I was just curious about that. And I have another question about the warming cream. The scent you're probably smelling is the Palo Santo or whatever, and it's a very mild smell. But
Mhm.
is the cream greasy or oily? I prefer a more drier kind of hand cream that after I rub them in, like I'm not like gooing everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious about the texturing of that.
Yeah, it's not greasy. It's not oily. You do want to rub it a bit and give it a time to absorb. But once it
Okay.
does, it's really fine putting a glove on after that. And yeah, it will absorb nicely into the skin. Like I said, it's a really good moisturizer as well. So I'm not conscious of it being exceptionally greasy or oily.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eva Marie. We also have Tris who is on that would like to ask a question.
Yeah, sorry, my face isn't showing. I don't know why. Yes, I had a quick question on a couple of the products that you expressed. For a number of reasons, I'd like to know if they're in the clothing items, if there are microplastics or some of the water repellent type of materials that are, as they call the forever chemicals. And the same thing with any of the cosmetic type products, if there's any of the no-nos in those, like formaldehyde or parabens or phthalates and stuff like that?
Um, some of them are like largely all natural. There's a Raynaud's treatment cream on our site that I think is totally all natural. Um, I'm trying to think with Nutricel. Hang on a second. Let me see if I brought. I don't think I brought that bottle with me. Um, I'm not. And as far as the apparel goes, unfortunately, I haven't screened them from that perspective because the issue just hasn't come up. But
Mhm.
I'm sure you could ask the question of, the different manufacturers. I think Gobi is one of the manufacturers we work with, and they're pretty environmentally conscious. I suspect that theirs are probably more likely to be of the all natural variety, but I'm not really sure, because to be waterproof and windproof, there may be certain fibers and materials you have to use in order to provide that product benefit. I'm not
And
being a manufacturer myself. I don't know that much about it, but it's possible.
and then my last question was, on any of these vests that have the batteries in them, are they safe for people with pacemakers or other medical devices that they might have as implants, like pumps or those kinds of things?
I would think if the battery is at the lower part of the body, it should be okay. I would avoid one that's like on a vest type pocket at the top. But it's a good question, and I've never asked it of any of these manufacturers. Something worth Googling. But I would think. Now, my mother had a pacemaker. I'll take that back. My mother had a pacemaker, and she used to use, G-Tech used to make a vest. They're probably going to go back into that side of the business soon, which, by the way, that bar in the pouch is in the pockets of their vests, which is to die for. Once you put it on, you do not want to take it off. And she was fine with it. She was fine with it. She also
Okay,
uses
thank
the
you.
Akupa. She used the Akupa warmers several times a day, but she used the G-Tech pouch, and she used the G-Tech vest, and she was totally fine with her pacemaker.
And the last question, Raynaud's really affects my ears, my inner ear. It's
Ooh.
so excruciatingly painful when I get a really bad Raynaud's attack, especially in the cold weather. Are there any, besides an earmuff, kind of thing, is there something that can be sort of more placed in the ear, almost like an earbud, if you will? I know that
Hmm.
sounds like a really bizarre, off the wall thing, but my ears get excruciatingly painful along with a Raynaud's attack.
That's an interesting issue. I've never heard someone say that the inner ear was an issue. Obviously, you hear about the outer ear all the time. I would I'm not saying I know of anything out on the market, but I would imagine if you were to try to create something out of a temperature regulating fabric or cover something in one of these temperature regulating fabrics, um,
Hmm.
it would probably work.
Yeah,
If
that's a good idea. I could
in
give that
the
a
ear,
try.
like cover an earbud with it.
Yeah.
So I would try like alpaca, or that might be a little, well, that's pretty soft.
Or maybe
Um,
the graphene, I can try to get a little creative and create a prototype and see if it works.
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, if you do find it works, I mean, I can ask some of these manufacturers, the people at Fiber Heat, they make gloves and now socks and blankets and hats that they profess to be self-heating. I call them more temperature maintaining or temperature regulating, but they do work.
Okay.
And they are very creative about expanding their product line. So if you find that, that kind of thing is working for you, I could talk to them about it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Tris. Lynn, do you happen to know if from the marketplace, if items purchased can be shipped internationally and specifically to New Zealand?
It depends on the manufacturer. Many of
Okay,
them do. Many of them do. Of course, I can't speak to the tariffs right now, but many of them do ship internationally.
that's great. We have another question about mitts. Are there any mitts they have found that they work well with hand warmers? I know you showed the, I guess the bag that you can put your hands in, but are there any other kinds of, yeah, the pouch. Thank you.
Mhm. You're talking about mittens or like a mitt that is, that has sort of a cross between a mitten and a glove. I'm trying to understand what they're asking.
Probably to help with the finger issue for those that have, issues with digital ulcers and different things like that. Something that's not as, specific as a glove.
Um, there used to be a microwavable mitt, but those people, they were based in Florida and I think they're out of business. Um, that's a good question. You could probably use some of the slippers that we have on our site that way.
Good
Um,
idea.
well, there are microwavable mittens on our site from HXT. And that might do it for you. It sounds like you're looking for something that's not like a battery operated product, correct?
Let's see here. It's Lisa Bohemier asked, and Lisa, are you still here on the call? Let me make sure I'm getting these names all right. She's not still here, but I can follow up with her later, and we can clarify that. And then just wanted to see, someone mentioned, what about things for the feet? Is there anything that you would recommend?
Oh yes. If you go on our website and you search for warm toe solutions, there's a whole article which we're constantly updating. It talks about boots, slippers, socks, different kinds of accessories like the toe warmers. It's got a whole array of solutions there. Alpaca socks, by the way, are a really great solution for us. Heat holders makes a wonderful sock. It's pillowy soft. It's like walking on clouds. They're very thick though. So if not just wearing them around the house, if you want to put them in a shoe or boot, you got to have like an extra half size or a size or more in order to have room for them. But we get really great feedback from the Raina's community on those socks. Obviously there are the hot hands foot warmers, which you may be familiar with. And by the way, on all of those hand warmer and toe warmer type. The toe warmers, by the way, go just from like the middle of the foot to the toes. So you can get the full foot, you can just get the toe warmers. They're very slim, they're rounded, they fit easily into a shoe. But for all of those disposable warmers, if you don't use them through the entire like 8 hour period that they last through, you can reuse them. If you put them in a Ziploc bag and you get all the air out, they will come back once or twice, which, helps save money because if you don't use them all up, you hate to throw them out. So I just thought I'd mention that as well.
That's great. Let's see here. We've got a
Oh
few
yeah, I
more.
see the comment, by the way, Uggs, any kind of boot with a like a fluffy soft lining because the toes can get pretty sensitive. Mine do during attacks. In fact, mine might be sensitive for a whole week if I've had a really, really bad attack. So buying your boots, a little large so you can accommodate larger sock and the swelling that happens during Raynaud's, but Uggs, Bear Huggers. I mean, they're brands that have those soft, cushy lining. That's really nice next to your skin if you're prone to a lot of foot attacks, toe attacks.
What was the name of the sock that you referenced again? Someone asked that question.
Heat holders. It's two separate words. Heat holders. They're on our product showcase, and you'll see there are discounts as well.
Great.
And they're a
So
great supporter. They've been working with us for a number of years, and they have a lot of colors, a lot of styles, designs. Some of them have the non-skid bottoms so that you can wear them around the house and not kill yourself falling. So they come to the ankle, they come to the knee. They have a lot of different options, and they're terrific.
that's great. So shameless plug for myself. I have to ask this question every time. What about folks who need like 100% cotton because all of the other materials are very itchy for them, with their feet especially?
Cotton is an issue because It's not temperature regulating, and it also isn't wicking. It doesn't have wicking features. So if you sweat, your feet are gonna get wet. You know, if you get one of the, the newer fabrics or the natural fibers that are, temperature regulating, like merino wool, if they have a wicking capability. So like if you were wearing them out in the outdoors, hiking, whatever, and your feet start sweating, they, the watery, part of the sweat, it's going to hit your toes, and that's going to make you colder. It's not great. So we haven't really explored a lot of all cotton solutions. I understand the issue, but there are other pure natural fibers like merino wool and alpaca that hopefully somebody would not be too sensitive to. I know wool can sometimes be an issue. I have trouble with wool around my neck. Oh, somebody's mentioning silk. Silk is also great. Silk is a really great fabric for us. It's thin, slips easily. It's a great liner or a turtleneck to wear under a sweater. Keeps you from the other fabric being itchy. And it's really slim. That's another great option as well. It's for liners as well under gloves too.
Right. Well, this has been some great questions. Thank you, everybody, for being so engaged in the conversation. Any other questions for Lynn before we wrap up? Well, I just want to thank you, Lynn, for being here. I know Jesse is going to, from our communications team, is going to pop up a slide with a survey for everyone to complete. Lynn, it was such a great experience working with you and having you here to do this and share this information, especially during this important month for Raynaud's awareness. So thank you so much. And with that, we are going to stop the recording. And typically at the end of a Teal Talk, we leave time for the community to connect, talk, ask questions about programs and services that we have.